welcome to Tim Kirby Russia, where I radio talk show host and veteran political analyst Tim Kirby tell you about how the world works, how it looks from a Russian perspective. And I know, I've been here long enough. Anyways, today we're having an unusual episode because it's going to be double guest action. Yes, we are having two film directors from the EU who went down to the Donbass to film about the ballet theater and how it has continued to operate despite 8 years of war. Pretty interesting. So pretty soon we're going to have Nogradi and Luca Belardi on the screen for you. But before that, why don't we take a little look at their trailer? Because today, guys, I think it's more important to show the trailer of their film than listen to my musings on the idea of films and media and all that. Well, you can wait for that in another episode. So that was a trailer. Pretty neat, huh? Well, anyways, let's find out the story behind the story here and talk to Nogradi and Luca Belardi about their adventures, trials, and tribulations in the Donbass right now. So what made you so inspired to visit the Donbass and, moreover, film a movie there during a wartime scenario as EU citizens?
It's great that you said that, because actually we had a lot of problems with this kind of hybrid way of making films. We never knew on festivals whether to put it into the category of fiction films or to documentary films, and it was always a bit of confusion. Some said we are a short film, a fiction short film, other we are documentaries. So the Donbass, in reality, we have always been interested in topics of socio-political weight. And on the other side, we were both artists, or we want to be artists, like we are interested in artists, then let's make the world judge if we really are. So, but we met in England, actually. We both lived there, and I was a photographer, he was a storyboard artist, and we started to talk, and immediately what came out is that both of us, from their own separate backgrounds, we are very much linked to Russian culture. I grew up on Russian literature. I was first of all, my real background is in literature, and I was very, very passionate about Russian literature. Luca grew up with Russian literature, film, music. His father was cultural representative who was organizing cultural events between the Soviet Union and Italy. Sorry, I'm talking instead of you.
It's okay.
I
It's
will
okay.
stop. you can say.
No. Please go ahead.
So, first of all, we discovered immediately that we are both very much linked. Like, that was our first conversation. It was about Russian culture. And about the Donbass, it all started because we, first of all, followed the events from 2014 on. There was a very important alternative news channel in Italy. We've also worked for that news channel. It was called Pandora TV. The leader was Giulietto Chiesa. He's a very important journalist, also in Russia. He was an important figure. And we followed those events. And at one point, I was working as researcher for actually an English director who was working for BBC, Netflix, and he was looking for topics for. So he was like, I want something with Russian ballet. So I was looking for something interesting, not just to just go and shoot some Russian ballet, but some story. And I couldn't find anything. Researching. I was complaining, telling Luca, "Ah, can't believe it. I can't find anything." And one night, one of these nights that I was searching, and I found really topics all over the place already, because he needed from Japan, he needed from South America, from England. And then I just read an article saying that the Donbass Opera is making a tour in Russia. And I was like, wait a second, isn't there the war there? How do they make a tour in the middle of the war? I mean, isn't this a theater? And then I researched it, and we found out the story about the theater. And I actually first proposed this topic to the director, but for one reason or the other, they didn't choose it. And when they didn't choose it, like the producer didn't choose it, then we were like, that's great, so let's go and do this film together.
Please don't take this as a negative, but so what you're saying is Netflix basically told you no, and then you guys were like, well, let's just do it anyways. And so somehow you gathered money and started doing it, right? Did I get it?
So the thing is, of course, there are basically two main things. If you want to approach from their side, maybe not Netflix. I don't know who was actually who was behind the director, who wanted, or let's put it this way, who the director wanted to uh, ask.
Distribute
Yeah,
with. It
yeah,
was Netflix.
exactly.
I remember.
Was it
Yeah,
Netflix?
he's an independent director. He worked with a producer, and together they were looking for topics to distribute by
Exactly,
Netflix,
yeah, to be produced by some like BBC or whatever. But of course, as you may understand, from their side, that kind of topic, it is a bit delicate, and also there is another major problem, that if you want to go and shoot there, it's a bit dangerous. So there are a lot of costs for whatever,
Insurance,
like
life
insurances
insurance,
and blah blah. So it's very difficult. So they discarded it, and yeah, we were very very happy, because we felt that we understood what was going on there. We profoundly, deeply understood the importance of what was going on there, and therefore, when they dropped the topic, we were so happy, because we could make the film about it. Go there, meet the people, talk to the people, really, understand fully what this, not only like what they're doing physically, but like their spirit, why they're doing this, why. So the film, the film that we've made is not very much eventually about what happened there in that very moment, but it's a sort of a demonstration to the world that another humanity exists. What they have done doesn't correspond at all to the mainstream narrative. What we hear since we're born basically is that the men, like the humans, are basically as simple as machines. They just move forward where there is an interest. They stand still when there is nothing, or they just move backwards if there is a danger to their interest. It's like, I don't know, it's a switch, basically, human being. But these people were doing everything. Everything they were doing was just opposing blatantly that narrative. What they were doing was putting up a show when there were bombing flying towards them. They had no food, they had no electricity, they had no heating, water, and mostly they didn't have any money, because Kiev stopped paying them. And therefore, like, why would you do that instead of fleeing? Just pack everything up and run away from the bombs. No, you know what they've done? They have created a bomb shelter under the stage, so that could save them from the bombs, they turned the whole theater into their home.
And not only their home, actually, because they were also evacuating people from the more bombed areas, and they used the offices to put inside people like citizens to live there. They were giving free performances. The soldiers were taken there to watch the shows. The people could go for free. So they weren't really doing it for themselves. They were doing it for the people and for the city and for the sake of art and for the sake of the human mind of everybody that was living there. It was a sort of safe haven for them.
So, this is the scientific proof that the human being is not what someone says that it is. No, it's not. The human being doesn't just move when there is some kind of money interest. No, they resist. And what did they do in order to resist the bombs? They put on a show, artistic show. It's what they have done. What they've said to us was that if we would evacuate the premises, the building, if the theater dies, then the city is lost, because the soul is lost. So, but they had one major problem. That was that, okay, we do everything in our power to put on this show. And do you remember they even told us that they bombed their the place where the storage place where they kept all the dresses and the
props. They have to remake
everything. It was like burned down. So like it was terrible for them, of course, a major loss. But eventually they managed to put on this bloody show, and they didn't know whether the people would come and see it. They gave out the tickets for free. So they didn't have any payment from anybody, but they didn't even get any payment from the tickets.
Because I know a thing or two about how the media works, and when you're filming a movie, you're going to need location scouts, a lot of planning. You're going to need cameramen, lighting guys. Very often you have to organize for people to stay at hotels, lodging, food, all this other stuff, right? How exactly does one do that in the middle of a war zone, especially as EU citizens who are technically on sort of the other side of the line? Speaking of which, have you guys gotten in trouble back home for your film or anything you've done in the Donbass yet? But anyways, back to question one. How the heck did you pull this off? How did you organize all of this?
Well, it was, first of all, I remember at the very, very beginning, I called the theater. When I was still researching. And the PR department answered the phone, and they didn't even want to speak to me because I don't even speak Russian, so I spoke in English, and they just put the phone down.
Oh.
And yeah, and then eventually, little by little, I understood that they first want to meet us, and then if that's a green light from them, because they've been exploited so much and they've been distorted so much, their image has been distorted so much that there were actual channels, I don't want to mention their names, maybe it's not okay to mention their names, but actual channels from France, from Germany, that went there, made some interviews, and actually took some sentences out of context, and they re-edited them, and it said the opposite of what they wanted to say. So of course they wanted to know who the hell we are. And I said, okay, great, let's go there. And that was actually the breaking point with the director, because I think they didn't want to risk to go all the way there and insure everybody and get to know them. And then if they don't get the green light, they can't even shoot. Whereas we were like, we are two people, we want to go, we just set out to go and meet them, and let's see how it goes. And we actually contacted, mostly I think we made a gesture by contacting all the official institutes. So we didn't just go there like this, okay, what happens, but we contacted
We went through like a proper,
official way,
official procedure. Like first of all, we were good friends with Giulietto Chiesa, this Italian journalist who was a very important figure also in Russia, and so through him, we got some contacts, and then we went down all through official procedures,
the
and
representative of the Donetsk People's Republic in Italy, and then the foreign ministry, and then so we weren't trying to go
just
on this side.
sneak in, and actually we now that we hear, then we can actually thanks a lot all the people that really helped us. That is the Italian representative to the DPR, and of course the
Ministry of Foreign Affairs
of the DPR. So yeah.
Now, when you went down there, I can imagine the border guard's reaction. He looks at your passports, talks to you, and he's like, okay, an Italian and a Hungarian, and you say you want to come here to film a movie. Yeah.
No, yeah, it was. Yeah.
I mean, you come from a NATO country. They don't know who you are, and it is perfectly normal. But we were sure that when we get to know the people that we have to get to know, that we want to get to know, it will be all fine. And it really went like this. We understood. We weren't expecting this kind of huge welcome or anything like this, because we knew that it's a healthy, natural, and also just kind
reaction.
of suspicion that they have. But we knew that we want to do things that are right and that are good and that are true, so we weren't afraid. And eventually this is what happened, because it's a little bit like this with Russians, when maybe they have a little bit of distance in the beginning, but when you get to know them, they are just like, I mean, the person who put down the phone to me the first time when I called the theater is now my best friend since the 4 years ago when we went there, and we talk almost every week, if not every second day. So as soon as we got there, in one day, we made at least three friends that are till today are very, very good friends. So
yeah, I think we just very much understood each other. They understood that we were there for for them, to in order to show their real spirit to the world, and therefore they now, I mean, we trust each other, and now it's much easier, of course, to go there.
The trust was born immediately, because we are not paid by anybody to make this film. We made this film entirely from our own resources. We spent our energy. We spent a lot of resources, like economic resources, our own, on it. And I'm not saying this to compliment ourselves. I'm saying it because I think that it's quite an important phenomena. What happens is that many times there are stories that happen in Russia and with the Russian people that they manage to show such a strong willpower, such a strong spiritual presence, that they actually manage to inspire random foreigners to dedicate their parts of their life into bringing this into and showing it to the rest of the world.
Sorry, friends, I forgot to record probably the most important question for Luca and Maya. So, did you guys actually make any money on this adventure, or did you lose tens of thousands of dollars for the sake of art and truth and so on?
Losing is not the right word, because actually we made the most important friendships. I mean, if I would do it 100 times again, because the experience that we lived, the depth of this journey, it has made us better. And I think that the result what we had is the film. I think that it was very important for us to make this film. It said we managed to put in what we want. It's a little concentrated version of what we want to give as a message. And we didn't break even, in the sense that it won some awards on pretty important festivals, fortunately, but it was not, we knew it from the beginning that we are never gonna make money on this. That was never the objective. So.
Our goal wasn't really like making money with that film. I mean, we could have maybe thought about some Spider-Man you know, like
Remake.
remake. I don't know, like
Russian Spider-Man.
whatever. Yeah. So, I mean, the one thing that might interest you is that the, uh, the prizes we won were, unfortunately, I would say, only in Russia, because you know, like, what we call the Western, like Western culture, it's in it is in somebody else's hands, and they basically do not allow anything that is out of that kind of, you know, direction that they give. Like, whatever is out of that track is not good. It doesn't matter if your film is good or not. Of course, we're not talking about a matter of taste. I mean, if it's, we cannot say whether our film is ugly or is good, because it's our film. But having seen what many of those festivals we send the film to, what they have published, what they have, you know, screened, we understand that it's not a matter of taste. It's a matter of political views, and they just choose not to show those kind of things. And another very important thing is that if you have the chance to watch the film, then, like anybody of you viewers have the chance to watch the film, you will see that we never say anything about Ukraine, because it's not a, you know, we don't want to put the thing into like some kind of opposition, like the the Ukrainian people are bad and these guys are good. No, we're not saying that. There are people. The only difference is the people and the powers. Powers have interests. The people are the victims, all of them. So we never put against each other the people. We never name Ukraine.
But the simple fact that you, sorry for interrupting,
Yeah.
but the reason why because festivals, they are all politicized. If you see a commercial festival, look at the funding, like it's all politicized, because you will find embassies, you will find political institutions,
Foundations.
you will find TV channels which are clearly politicized or leaning towards one direction. So, you know, the simple fact that you speak well about people that you shouldn't speak well of, they are not going to choose you. And we actually received emails that unfortunately your film is not in line with our festival's values, but
when we were lucky.
Literally, like we received email responses, like, at least, I mean, don't respond, but if you're responding,
I prefer that, actually.
It's like, yeah, actually, it's
more honest.
I mean, we know it anyway that is why it happens.
But you know, this explains, you know, what kind of reality we live in. You know, like, at least in the West, what we call the West, which is Europe and the United States, and Japan too. It's not exactly the West, but you know, yeah. So basically, it's totally impossible to, in the land of freedom, you're not free. That's too, you know, you're not free to express yourself. They always talk about art, freedom of expression, and then in reality, there's no absolute nothing.
There is freedom of speech as long as you say what they want to hear.
Exactly.
So.
Speaking of freedom of speech, have you gotten any big responses about your movie? And also, speaking of freedom of speech, have you gotten any big responses about your movie, especially from Russians? And also, are the responses from Russian people very different from the responses you get from people in, say, the EU and elsewhere?
We have literally not received anything negative about the film, and this is exactly, I think, the result of what Luca earlier said, that in the film we have avoided pointing fingers. We are not saying anything bad. We are not putting anybody against anybody else. So, well, from the Russian side, I can maybe tell one detail that explains more or less the reaction, that when we sent this film to Russian festivals, there are two very important festivals. One is called Pobedili Vmiesте, One Together, and the other is called Ruski Kino Festival. And both of them are festivals that are very much focused on the Russian spirit, the Russian culture, the representation of the values that the Russian culture shows to the people, to the world. And actually on the Ruski Kino Festival, and it won the Grand Prix. So it means that anyway we managed to understand who like it is a reflection. This film is really how two people reflect on the Russian spirit, and it managed to represent them so well that on a festival especially dedicated to this, it won the Grand. So
Grand Prix.
this means really the world to us, because this is what we try to do. And it is not the prize itself that means to us, but the fact that they saw themselves in what we wanted to say. Because what we think is that the things that they represent, that the theater represented through their resistance, those are universal values that are important for the whole world. But in this moment of time, it is, and also several different times in the history, it is Russia that can represent that. But certainly now in the world that we live in, Russia should be the country that shows the way to that kind of real humanity, that alternative humanity to the kind of globalist transhuman society that we are heading to in our countries. And on the other side, so this is like Russian reaction or an example of that. And in Italy, we managed to put it on a big TV channel, which is called Bio Blue. It's a nationwide TV channel, and it was also on a big YouTube channel. And the reactions were really, really good, but not only the Italians, but for example, one story that can show this is that we sent it to a friend of ours who lives in Canada, who is not informed. I mean, she's a lovely person, but she's not particularly informed on this topic, and pretty much usually says the usual things that a person who is not so informed would say, and certainly not in line with us. But when she saw the film, she wrote to us that she cried for the whole time. It is beautiful. Now she understands so much more about this situation. So the fact that you are not attacking in your film, but you are touching people's heart, it really, really manages to communicate much better than if you would just start to write very strong criticisms and articles.
We experienced exactly this. Like wherever we showed the film, and to whomever we showed the film, they always reacted the same way. They were crying. They were moved because this is a universal message. It's not just something that is local. A local happening. It happened in this very war, that very place, and the characters are Russians or like Russian speaking. No, this really shows the universal meaning, deep meaning, and it really offers a new way to see the human being. I wouldn't say it's a new way. I come from Italy, and we had something called humanism during Renaissance, and the Renaissance, it's just picking, the old Greek, Roman culture, like making it. Renaissance means being reborn, basically. So they're giving, a new life to those thoughts. So we think that Russia, Russian culture is the I would say the only one in the world at the minute that is still carrying this humanistic this humanistic approach, and these people in the theater, they did exactly that. They didn't just speak, like they weren't philosophers. You the ballerinas there, that they're not philosophers. They don't act after having thought about what to do, what not to do, whether this is philosophically, ethically right. They just know what is right and what is wrong, and that we won't leave the bloody theater because the people need us, and we will stay, and we will put on the show. That's it. And this is true, real humanism in action.
And by the way, I just remember, I just add a very little thing to this, that when the film was brought, because it was brought to a film festival in Italy, where actually it was really nice, because at the moment of the screening there was a school brought into the movie theater, so a huge group of very young, children, maybe like 15 years old or something like this, from 13 to 15 years old, something like this. So the film, and that reaction was simply amazing. I mean, they were there for the entire time of the duration of the film. They were reacting to everything that was happening, and they were like, oh, like this in the parts that are no, or in the end they were clapping so much, and then we had to make a little speech, and afterwards actually the teachers came to us and they held our hands and they said, you brought light into this event and thank you so much, and it was very important for the children to see this. So it's clear that this message touches everybody,
everyone,
from children to elderly.
Hold on, I think I can speak for you too. We're not praising our own film. We we really invite you all to watch the film and of course have your own opinion about it. What we think is that the film managed to communicate a message, it just brought some message, a universal message that everyone can understand and touched everyone that really had the time to watch. So